The twin suns of Zythera were just beginning to set, painting the horizon with streaks of orange and violet. Captain Elias Thorne stood at the edge of the colony's central platform, his hands resting lightly on the rail. Below him, the human settlement sprawled like a carefully planted garden, each dome and building glowing softly as the evening chill settled in. He always felt a sense of pride here, even if life on Zythera was far from easy. Every day brought new challenges, harsh weather, alien wildlife, and the ever-present threat of marauders from beyond the stars. Yet the colony endured, held together by human ingenuity and determination. Elias's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a vehicle approaching on the dust-covered road. Unlike the usual colony transport, this was a heavy, armored craft. One he did not recognize. It hummed steadily, moving with a deliberate weight that suggested more than simple travelers. From the top of the platform, Elias squinted and saw a figure emerging from the vehicle. He straightened. The alien was taller than any human he had ever seen, its body strong and muscular, with golden-brown skin that caught the light of the setting suns. Its face was angular, with piercing eyes that seemed to study every detail of the colony as if evaluating it. Its presence was commanding. Yet there was an air of something else, something cautious. The alien walked toward him with long, deliberate strides. Elias instinctively reached for the communicator at his belt, ready to call the guards, but something in the alien's movement stopped him. There was no aggression, just purpose. "I am Kale of the Tyrus clan," the alien said, his voice deep and resonant, carrying authority and an unfamiliar warmth. "I come in peace. I wish to speak with the leader of this colony." Elias studied him carefully. The Tyrus clan. He had heard the stories. Fierce warriors, unmatched in combat, loyal only to their own. And yet, this one stood before him without a weapon, without any sign of hostility. He nodded slowly. "I am Elias Thorne, captain of this settlement. You are welcome here, but I must know your purpose." Kale inclined his head respectfully. "It is a matter of life and honor. You saved someone precious to me. My daughter, Leora, was left without a home after a raid destroyed our village. You gave her shelter, gave her a chance to live. For that, I am forever grateful." Elias blinked. He had heard rumors of a young Tyrus girl arriving at the colony weeks ago. Frightened and alone, he had ensured she received care and protection, as any human would for a child in need, but he had not expected her father to come all this way. "She's safe," Elias said, his tone firm but gentle. "And she is well. That is what matters." Kale's eyes softened slightly, a rare display of vulnerability from a Tyrus warrior. "She speaks of you often," he said. "She says humans are brave, honorable, unafraid of the challenges of this universe. I have come not only to thank you, but to ask if I may stay until I am certain she is fully safe." Elias considered the request. It was not unusual for alien families to travel across systems, seeking safety for their loved ones. But the Tyrus were known for their pride and fierce independence. Kale asking for shelter was almost unheard of. "We have room," Elias replied after a pause. "But you must understand. Life here is not easy. The colony faces threats almost daily. We are cautious with outsiders." Kale nodded once, sharply, understanding the unspoken warning. "I expect nothing less," he said. "I am a warrior. I know how to survive. And I am willing to contribute in any way needed." Elias gestured for Kale to follow him to the central hall. The guards trailed them silently, keeping a respectful distance. As they walked, Elias noted Kale's eyes, scanning the colony not with suspicion, but with careful attention. Everything about him radiated discipline and focus. Elias felt an odd sense of relief. If this Tyrus warrior was on their side, he could be a valuable ally. Inside the central hall, Kale lowered his gaze slightly and spoke again. "I do not wish to disrupt your people. I wish only to see that my daughter is cared for, and to repay the debt I owe. I have skills that may be of use here. I ask only for the chance to prove my loyalty." Elias studied him. Trust was not easily given, especially to an alien warrior of Kale's kind. But he could sense truth in his words. And more importantly, he could see the bond between Kale and Leora, even from afar. "Very well," Elias said finally. "You may stay, but there are rules. You follow them, and you contribute. Fail, and you will answer to me." Kale inclined his head again. "I understand." The next morning, Kale walked through the colony alongside Elias. He observed the humans at work, marveling at their determination and resourcefulness. He saw engineers repairing energy panels in the dome fields, medics tending to the injured from minor accidents, and children learning in classrooms that combined virtual reality with real-world simulations. It was different from the Tyrus villages he had known, structured, organized, yet not without warmth. Humans worked together not out of obligation alone, but out of a shared purpose. Elias noticed Kale's interest and smiled. "You can learn a lot from humans," he said. "We survive by thinking ahead, by helping each other, and sometimes, by taking risks others would not." Kale listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "Your people are brave," he said, "not in the way of warriors, but in the way of hearts. You face challenges without fear of loss, without hesitation. That is rare." Elias felt a quiet pride at the words. Humans had often been underestimated in the galaxy, seen as fragile or reckless. Yet time and again, they had survived where others failed. Perhaps this Tyrus warrior understood what humans were truly capable of. By midday, Kale had met Leora. The reunion was quiet but deeply moving. Leora ran to him, her small arms wrapping around his neck. Kale held her close, murmuring softly in the Tyrus language. She looked up at him, smiling despite the hardships she had endured. Elias watched from a distance, feeling a sense of relief and satisfaction. This was why humans ventured to distant planets to provide hope where there was none, to be a home for those without one. As Kale spent the afternoon learning the routines of the colony, he began helping wherever he could. He repaired broken machinery with surprising skill, carried supplies without complaint, and even joined a patrol around the perimeter, showing a knowledge of tactics that impressed even the most experienced human guards. Slowly, the colony began to see him not as a potential threat, but as a strong ally, a protector in waiting. Evenings were quieter. Kale would often stand at the edge of the platform, looking out at the twin suns sinking beneath the horizon. Elias sometimes joined him, and they would talk not just about the colony, but about the universe, the challenges they faced, and the strange beauty of distant worlds. In those moments, Elias saw not only a warrior, but a father, a being capable of loyalty and honor beyond what most humans could imagine. It was during one of these evenings that Elias realized the truth. Kale was not here to simply repay a debt. He was here to stand beside humans, to share in their struggles, and perhaps to find a place where he and his daughter could belong. And in that realization, Elias felt something rare and valuable, a spark of hope that perhaps, despite the dangers and the uncertainty of the galaxy, alliances could be forged, bonds could be built, and even the most distant souls could find a home. As the suns disappeared and stars began to glitter across Zythera's sky, Elias knew one thing for certain. The arrival of Kale would change the colony forever. Whether for better or worse, only time would tell. But one thing was clear: humans had always thrived against the odds. And now, perhaps, they had gained a powerful new ally, one whose loyalty and strength would be tested in ways neither of them could yet imagine. And so, the colony of Zythera slept under the twin moons, unaware of the challenges yet to come, yet unknowingly stronger, because of the presence of a Tyrus warrior who had come seeking nothing but to stand beside them and protect the home they had given his daughter. The next morning, Zythera's winds carried a chill that nipped at the colony's domes and pathways. Kale had already risen before the first light, walking among the fields of solar collectors and energy domes, observing every detail. He was silent, his presence commanding, yet calm. Leora followed closely, her small hand tucked into his larger one. For a moment, they were like any father and daughter, no differences of species, No past traumas, just a bond of love. Inside the central hall, Elias watched Kale move among the colonists. The humans were cautious, some wary of the Tyrus warrior's strength, his imposing frame, and the stories that came with his name. Yet Kale did nothing to frighten them. Instead, he offered help. He repaired a broken hydro panel with surprising precision, then carried heavy crates of supplies without complaint. The colonists began to murmur among themselves, admiration growing in their voices. Even the gruff veterans who had seen countless alien encounters nodded quietly. One of the engineers, Marla Jensen, approached Kale hesitantly. You work fast. I wasn't sure if I could trust you," she said, brushing sweat from her forehead. Kale's golden brown eyes met hers. "Trust is earned," he said simply. "I am here to protect, not to harm. I can only prove that through action." Marla smiled faintly. "Then thank you." As Kale worked, he observed the humans' unique approach to problem-solving. They were resourceful, improvising solutions where Tyrus warriors might rely purely on strength. He found himself intrigued, almost inspired. For a being trained in rigid combat traditions, the human ability to adapt, think ahead, and protect one another without hesitation was remarkable. He began to see why his daughter had felt safe here, why she had spoken of humans with such admiration. By mid-afternoon, Kale had joined a patrol with Elias and a few human guards. The perimeter of the colony was vast, with rocky hills and jagged cliffs stretching in all directions. From these heights, one could see the faint glimmer of distant stars, even in the early evening. A reminder that Sci-Fi existed on the edge of explored space. Kale's senses were sharper than any human's. He could hear distant movement in the rocky terrain, detect subtle shifts in the wind that might indicate approaching creatures, and anticipate dangers before they appeared. He shared these insights with the patrol, not in a commanding way, but in a teaching tone. Elias watched him closely. The bond forming between Kale and the colonists was subtle but powerful. Humans respected courage and intelligence, and Kale possessed both in abundance. What impressed Elias the most, however, was Kale's humility. Despite his strength and skill, he did not seek to dominate. He sought to protect your people. You fight not just for survival, but for others, Kale said quietly to Elias as they paused on a ridge overlooking the colony. Elias nodded. We don't always succeed, but we try. That is what keeps us alive out here, our willingness to act, even when the odds are against us. Kale's gaze lingered on the colony below. This is different from my world. On Tyrus, strength often rules, and only the strongest survive. Here, you survive together. I see now why my daughter feels at home. The sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. As the patrol returned, they found Leora waiting near the central hall. Her small face, bright with excitement, she ran to Kale, her laughter carrying through the evening air. Elias allowed himself a small smile. The simple bond between father and daughter was a reminder of why humans reached out into the stars, not for conquest, not for glory, but to offer hope where it was needed most. Later that evening, Kale joined the colonists around the communal fire in the central plaza. The humans shared stories of exploration, challenges, and the strange creatures they had encountered on Sci-Fi. Kale listened intently, occasionally offering insights from his own experiences, but never boasting, never attempting to dominate the conversation. Slowly, the humans began to see him not as an outsider, but as one of them, someone willing to fight for their home, just as they did for each other. One of the younger colonists, Jarek, spoke up timidly. Do Tyrus really fight all the time? Are you always warriors?" Kale smiled faintly, a rare warmth touching his features. "Not always. We fight when we must. But we also love, care, and protect. Strength is only meaningful when it is used for those who need it." The colonists nodded thoughtfully. Jarek's curiosity reflected the shift taking place within the community. Fear was giving way to understanding. Respect was growing. As night fell and the stars blanketed the sky, Elias and Kale walked to the edge of the colony. The twin moons of Zythera cast a gentle glow across the land, illuminating the domes and pathways in a soft, silver light. "Do you ever regret leaving your world?" Elias asked quietly, not expecting an answer. Kale's gaze was distant, fixed on the horizon. "Sometimes," he said, "but I see now that leaving was necessary. My daughter needed safety. She needed hope. And I see that humans can provide both." And, Elias considered this, humans had faced countless challenges in the galaxy, hostile worlds, alien conflicts, and threats that seemed insurmountable. Yet time and again, they had prevailed. Perhaps that was what Kale was beginning to understand: the unique human ability to inspire loyalty, courage, and resilience. The next day brought new challenges. A sudden storm swept across the plateau, bringing violent winds and sharp, biting cold. The colony's systems were tested as solar panels wavered, protective shields flickered, and transport vehicles struggled to maintain balance. Kale was at the forefront, helping engineers stabilize equipment, guiding colonists to safety, and demonstrating a calm efficiency that inspired confidence. Even the most skeptical human workers began to rely on him, realizing that his presence made their lives safer. When the storm finally passed, Kale and Elias surveyed the colony. Minor damage had occurred, but no lives were lost. Leora ran to Kale, holding tightly to his hand. As she skipped along the repaired pathways, Kale looked down at her, a rare smile breaking across his stern face. He realized then that the bond between humans and Tyrus could be more than a temporary alliance. It could be a partnership built on trust, respect, and mutual survival. Elias watched quietly. He understood now that Kale was no ordinary visitor. The Tyrus warrior had come seeking nothing but to protect his daughter. But in the process, he had proven himself to be an invaluable part of the colony. Humans thrived against the odds, and Kale had already shown that he shared their values, loyalty, courage, and the willingness to fight for others. As night fell once more, the colony was quiet, yet alive with the soft hum of energy systems and the occasional laughter of children playing near the domes. Kale sat with Leora, sharing stories of his home world, of lessons learned in battle, and of the importance of honor and family. The young girl listened with wide eyes, absorbing both the wisdom and the kindness of her father. Elias walked past them, pausing for a moment. He realized that this small family, the human colony, Leora, and Kale, represented something greater than any single individual. They were proof that unity, courage, and trust could transcend species, culture, and history. And in that quiet moment, under the twin moons of Zythera, Elias knew that the arrival of Kale was not just an event, it was the beginning of something extraordinary, something that would change the colony forever. The humans had opened their home to an alien father and daughter, and in return, they had gained a warrior, an ally, and a symbol of hope that stretched across the stars. For the first time in weeks, Elias allowed himself to rest, knowing that the bonds being forged here, between human and Tyrus, father and daughter, protector and protected, would stand firm against whatever challenges the universe might throw at them next. Weeks passed on Zythera, and life in the colony had begun to feel routine. Humans and Tyrus worked side by side, repairing domes, tending to energy arrays, and exploring the rocky plains surrounding their settlement. Kale had become a familiar figure among the colonists, his strength and calm guidance earning him respect. Leora laughed more freely now, no longer haunted by the memory of her destroyed home. The colony had become a true haven for her, and Kale could finally breathe easier. But peace, as it often did on the frontier, was fragile. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Elias convened a meeting in the central hall. Maps of Zythera's skies flickered on holographic panels. "We've received reports of an approaching fleet," Elias said, his voice steady but tense. They call themselves the Marauders. They've attacked human and alien colonies alike. They're ruthless. And they won't hesitate to take what they want. A murmur spread through the room. Marauders were notorious across this sector of space. Ships armed with powerful weapons, highly trained crews, and a single goal: plunder and destruction. Even a fortified colony like theirs would be in danger if they were unprepared. Kale stepped forward, his posture erect, eyes sharp. "I have faced warriors like these before," he said. "They rely on intimidation and speed. If they come here, we must be ready. The humans here are capable, but we cannot underestimate them. I can train your people in combat tactics and defense strategies." Elias studied him carefully. It was a bold proposal. Training the colonists could help, but it would also risk spreading fear if done hastily. Still, Kale's experience could be invaluable. "We don't have much time," Elias said finally. "Do it. Show the colonists what they need to know." The next morning, Kale began organizing training sessions. At first, some colonists were hesitant. Many had never fired a weapon in real combat, and the idea of learning alien tactics was intimidating. Kale, however, was patient. He began with the basics: movement, observation, teamwork. He emphasized strategy over brute strength, teaching humans how to anticipate threats and coordinate attacks. During the first session, he paired veteran soldiers with civilians. "Humans and Tyrus both have strengths," Kale said. "Humans are clever, adaptable, and fast thinkers. I am strong, trained in combat, and patient. Together, you can defend this colony like nothing else in the galaxy." Leora watched from the sidelines, cheering for the humans as they learned to move with purpose and focus. Her father's pride was evident, but he also encouraged patience and calm. "Do not rush," he told the group. "Think first, act second. Survival depends on your mind as much as your strength." As the days went on, the colonists began to improve. Humans who were once hesitant now moved with confidence. Engineers lifted heavy weapons, children and teenagers practiced emergency drills, and even the elders learned to defend their homes in case of attack. Kale guided them, never forcing, always demonstrating and explaining. Slowly, fear transformed into determination. One afternoon, Kale and Elias stood on a ridge, observing the colony below. The wind swept over the plains, carrying with it the scent of dust and ozone from the energy panels. "They are learning quickly," Elias said, impressed by the progress. "I wasn't sure they would adapt so fast." Kale nodded. "Humans are remarkable," he said. "They may seem fragile, but their courage and adaptability make them strong. They are capable of more than even they believe. That is why your colony can survive what is coming." Elias glanced toward the horizon, where the faint glimmer of distant ships could already be seen. "I hope you're right," he said. "We can train them all we want, but the Marauders are ruthless. They will test us." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Then we must be ready to meet their test head-on." The first warning came at dusk. Scout drones detected a small fleet entering Zythera's system. The Marauders were coming sooner than expected. Alarms echoed across the colony. Colonists moved quickly to defensive positions, guided by Kale and Elias. Humans manned energy turrets, patrols took strategic points along the perimeter, and Kale coordinated efforts with precision. Leora watched from the safety of the central dome, holding the hand of Marla Jensen. "Do you think they can win?" she asked quietly. Kale knelt beside her. "We are stronger than we realize," he said. "Humans, Tyrus, and everyone here, they all have courage. Courage is stronger than fear. You'll see." The first Marauder ship appeared on the horizon, sleek and dark, its engines glowing like molten metal. A second and third followed, forming a small fleet. Their intention was clear: they had come to attack, to test the colony's defenses. Kale gave instructions calmly. "Focus. Do not panic. Work together. Cover each other. Trust one another, and no harm will come to those who follow the plan." Elias felt a swell of pride as he watched the humans respond with determination. They moved as Kale instructed, covering points, communicating efficiently, and protecting each other. Even civilians who had been nervous during drills now acted decisively, showing the effect of Kale's training. The Marauders launched their first attack, firing energy blasts toward the colony. Shields held, but the impact was intense. Dust and debris swirled in the air, and alarms blared. Kale fought alongside the humans, moving with precision and strength, taking out threats and guiding soldiers. Elias coordinated the energy turrets, countering the attacks with calculated fire. The battle was intense but short. The Marauders' scouts retreated after realizing the colony would not fall easily. Still, the encounter left a clear warning. The main fleet was coming, and it would not be so easily repelled. After the skirmish, the colonists gathered in the central hall. Exhausted, but alive. Kale addressed them, his voice steady and firm. "You have done well today. You faced fear and acted with courage. But this is only the beginning. The Marauders will return, stronger and more determined. We must continue to train, to prepare, and to trust each other. Only then can we survive." Elias stepped forward, placing a hand on Kale's shoulder. "You've taught us more than just combat," he said. "You've shown us what it means to stand together, no matter who we are. Humans and Tyrus can face anything, if we work as one." Kale nodded, his golden brown eyes softening as he glanced at Leora, who stood proudly at his side. "Then let this bond be our strength," he said. "Together, we will defend this home. And together, we will endure whatever comes next." As night fell, the colony prepared for the challenges ahead. Humans and Tyrus warriors alike worked side by side, reinforcing shields, repairing equipment, and ensuring that every corner of Zythera was defended. Though fear lingered, it was tempered by courage, discipline, and the growing trust between species. For Kale, this was more than training, it was a test of character, for both him and the humans. And for Elias, it was a reminder of what humanity could achieve when faced with overwhelming odds. Bravery, unity, and a refusal to surrender, no matter how dark the shadow of war might grow. The stars above Zythera shimmered, silent witnesses to the colony's determination. And as Kale stood on the ridge, looking out over the lights of the settlement, he knew one truth. When humans and Tyrus fought together, they were more than a colony, they were a force capable of surviving anything the universe might throw at them. The twin suns of Zythera had barely risen when alarms blared across the colony. The Marauder fleet had arrived in full force. Sleek black ships, armed with powerful energy cannons, loomed in the sky, their shadows stretching over the domes and rocky landscape. The colony, though prepared, faced its greatest test yet. Elias stood at the command center, eyes scanning the holographic displays. Soldiers and volunteers moved quickly, coordinating defenses, securing shields, and loading weapons. Beside him, Kale observed calmly, his presence steadying everyone around him. "The Marauders are dividing their fleet," Kale said, pointing at the projection. "Half will attack the perimeter directly. The rest will attempt to breach the inner defenses. We must split our forces wisely and cover each other." "Timing and teamwork are everything," Elias nodded. "We can do this. Humans have survived worse. And with your help, Kale, we have a chance to win." Kale's gaze softened slightly as he looked at Leora, standing safely behind the reinforced shields. "Stay close to those who can protect you," he said. "I will handle the rest." The first wave hit the outer perimeter with a roar. Energy blasts illuminated the sky, scorching the rocky ground. Turrets fired back, guided by human engineers, while Kale moved among the defenders, directing them to cover weak points and counter enemy advances. His strength was unmatched, but he never acted recklessly. Every move was calculated, every decision precise. Human soldiers were inspired by his presence. Private Jarek, who had been nervous during drills, now moved with confidence, firing with accuracy at incoming Marauder drones. Engineers reinforced shields in real time, guided by Kale's tactical instructions. Even civilians found ways to help. Some operated communications, others tended to wounded, all contributing to the defense. Elias directed the central turrets, coordinating fire against the marauder ships. "Focus on the lead ships, cut their formation," he commanded. Energy beams streaked across the sky, colliding with the enemy's weapons. The marauders had power, but the colony's teamwork and Kale's guidance made them unpredictable. A sudden alarm rang from the inner dome. A small marauder strike team had broken through the outer defenses. Kale and Elias reacted instantly. "I'll take the strike team," Kale said. "Elias, cover the main guns." Kale moved swiftly, his tireless agility allowing him to leap over obstacles, take cover, and strike with precision. Marauder soldiers, armed and dangerous, were no match for his speed and strength. He disarmed two in quick succession, throwing them aside without harming them unnecessarily. Human soldiers followed his lead, moving together in tight formations, covering each other as Kale cleared the path toward the inner dome. Inside, Kale confronted the leader of the marauder strike team. A tall, armored figure, wielding a plasma sword. The clash was intense. Sparks flew as blade met blade, and Kale's calculated strikes forced the enemy back step by step. Human reinforcements arrived just in time, trapping the marauder soldiers and securing the dome. Outside, the main battle raged. Energy cannons roared, and debris flew through the sky. Kale coordinated with Elias, guiding teams to defend vital positions while directing small groups to sabotage enemy ships. The marauders, expecting an easy victory, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. During a critical moment, a marauder ship broke through the colony's shield, its massive hull threatening to crash into the central dome. Kale looked at Elias. "We must board it. If it hits the dome, the colony will be destroyed." Elias nodded. "Then we go together." With speed and precision, Kale led a small strike team onto the ship using jetpacks. The marauder crew fought fiercely, but Kale's skill and the human soldiers' determination proved overwhelming. They reached the control room and disabled the ship's engines, preventing disaster. Kale's leadership inspired the team, turning a dangerous situation into a victory. As the battle continued, Kale and Elias coordinated counterattacks across the colony. Marauder ships were destroyed one by one, their formations broken by the combination of human ingenuity and tireless combat skill. Colonists, both trained and untrained, contributed to the defense, showing courage they didn't know they possessed. Kale fought tirelessly, moving from one critical point to another, ensuring every position was secure. Elias, commanding the main defense systems, admired the synergy between humans and Tyrus. The marauders, once confident of victory, were now retreating, surprised by the colony's resilience and coordination. Finally, the marauder fleet began to withdraw. Explosions lit the sky as the last of their ships fled into space. The colony was battered, with domes scorched and equipment damaged, but everyone was alive. Humans and Tyrus alike cheered, exhausted but triumphant. Kale returned to the central plaza, where Leora ran to him, her face bright with relief and joy. He lifted her into his arms, holding her tightly. "It's over. For now," he said. "We survived because we stood together." Elias approached, placing a hand on Kale's shoulder. "You were incredible," he said. "But the truth is, it wasn't just you. Every human here fought with courage, and that is what makes us strong." Kale smiled faintly. "Then we have learned from each other. Humans and Tyrus, fighting together, can overcome even the darkest threats." The colonists gathered in the plaza, repairing minor damage, helping the injured, and celebrating survival. Kale and Elias walked together, observing the resilience of the human spirit. Despite fear, chaos, and danger, humans had shown their ability to adapt, fight, and endure. As night fell, the twin moons of Sci-Fi cast a calm glow over the colony. Kale stood at the edge of the platform, looking out over the settlement. Leora slept peacefully nearby, and the humans moved about with a quiet determination. The battle had tested everyone, yet they had proven themselves. Elias joined him. "They'll be back," he said quietly. "Stronger, faster, more determined. But we'll be ready." Kale's gaze remained fixed on the stars. "Let them come," he said. "Humans have courage, and we fight together. We are stronger than any threat the universe can send. This colony, this home, will endure because we refuse to yield." Elias nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humans had faced impossible odds before and survived. Now, with Kale at their side, they had learned that courage, loyalty, and unity could turn even the most desperate situation into triumph. The colony of Sci-Fi, battered but unbroken, would stand as a testament to what humans and their allies could achieve. And for Kale, Elias, and every colonist, the battle was more than survival. It was proof that hope, bravery, and determination could light the darkest of skies. As the night deepened, the stars above shimmered, silent witnesses to the victory. The humans had fought with heart, the Tyrus had fought with honor, and together, they had proven that Sci-Fi was not just a colony, it was a home worth defending. The sun rose over Sci-Fi, painting the colony in soft shades of gold and violet. The battle had ended, but the work of rebuilding had only just begun. Domes bore scorch marks, pathways were scattered with debris, and some of the outer defenses needed urgent repair. Yet there was an unspoken strength in the colony's people, a determination that radiated from every corner. Humans and Tyrus warriors alike moved with purpose, repairing what had been damaged, restoring what had been broken. Kale stood beside Elias on a ridge overlooking the settlement. His armor was scratched, his muscles tense, but his eyes shone with satisfaction. "They have learned much," Kale said quietly. "Humans are strong not only in body but in heart. You inspire loyalty, courage, and hope. I see now why my daughter feels safe here." Elias nodded, watching Leora running freely among the repaired fields with other children. "They have you to thank too," he replied. "You taught them discipline, patience, and the courage to fight together. Without you, this victory would not have been possible." Kale smiled faintly. "Then we fought together, and together we prevailed. That is all a father could wish for his child. Thanks for watching. I'm in Bidoy the Place." The central plaza of the colony buzzed with activity. Engineers fixed energy nodes, soldiers tested turrets, and civilians cleaned and organized supplies. Despite exhaustion, there was laughter and conversation signs that life could continue, even after the horrors of battle. Kale walked among the people, offering guidance, encouragement, and support. Wherever he went, humans looked to him with respect, their initial hesitation replaced by admiration. For Kale, it was more than recognition. It was proof that unity between species was possible, proof that humans could inspire loyalty in even the most guarded hearts. Leora ran up to him, a small bundle of joy. "Papa, look, we fixed the water tanks!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. Kale crouched down, ruffling her hair. "I see, my daughter. You and your friends have done well. You are learning to protect not just yourselves, but this home." Leora smiled proudly. "Just like you taught us." Kale's gaze softened. "Yes, just like that. And remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite fear, for those you care for." Elias approached them, smiling. "Kale, the council and I have something to discuss. After your efforts, the colony wants to recognize your contribution not as a visitor, but as a permanent protector. Will you accept?" Kale straightened, his pride tempered by humility. "I do not seek titles," he said. "But if it means I can stand beside you, protect this colony, and keep my daughter safe, then I will accept." The announcement was met with applause from the colonists. Humans and Tyrus alike acknowledged the bond that had formed during the battle, a bond built on trust, courage, and mutual respect. For the first time, Kale felt a sense of belonging beyond the walls of his daughter's protection. He was not just a warrior. He was part of something greater, a family united by survival, hope, and the willingness to fight for one another. In the following days, the colony worked tirelessly to restore what had been damaged. Kale trained with soldiers, sharing his skills in combat, strategy, and survival. Elias oversaw construction, ensuring that defenses were stronger than ever. The humans adapted quickly, combining Kale's techniques with their own ingenuity. Together, they developed new strategies, reinforcing not only their walls, but also their confidence and unity. One evening, Kale and Elias stood once more on the ridge overlooking the settlement. The twin moons glimmered in the sky, casting a peaceful glow across the repaired domes. "You know," Elias said quietly, "I never thought an alien warrior would become such an important part of this colony. But now, I cannot imagine life here without you." Kale looked out over the land, his eyes reflecting both pride and gratitude. "I came seeking only to protect my daughter. But I have found something greater here. Humans fight not for glory, but for each other. That is strength unlike any I have known. I wish to remain, to learn, to fight, and to protect alongside you." Elias nodded. "Then stand beside us, Kale. Not as a visitor, but as a partner, a defender, and a friend." Kale extended his hand, and Elias shook it firmly. In that simple gesture, a promise was made. A promise of unity, loyalty, and protection that would endure beyond any threat the universe could send. Leora watched them, her young mind absorbing the significance of the moment. "Papa," she said softly, "we belong here. We have friends, a home, and we are safe." Kale knelt to her level, holding her hands gently. "Yes, my daughter. This is your home, and we will protect it. Together." The following weeks were filled with celebration and rebuilding. Humans and Tyrus worked side by side, sharing skills, stories, and laughter. Bonds grew stronger. Forged in the fires of adversity, the colony had faced destruction, yet emerged victorious, not just because of strength or weapons, but because of trust, courage, and the willingness to stand together. In every repaired dome, in every restored energy node, and in every smiling face, the lesson was clear. Survival was not just about individual ability. It was about unity. It was about believing in each other, protecting one another, and standing together when the universe threatened to tear them apart. One evening, Kale stood quietly at the edge of the colony, watching the stars twinkle in the dark sky. The battle had been won. The colony was safe, and his daughter thrived. Yet he knew the galaxy remained unpredictable. Marauders could return. Other dangers could come. But for the first time, Kale felt hope, not just for Leora, but for the humans who had embraced him, for the alliance they had formed, and for the future they could build together. Elias joined him, his expression calm but thoughtful. "The galaxy will challenge us again," he said. "But if humans and Tyrus fight side by side, I know we can face anything." Kale nodded, a rare smile on his face. "Together, we are stronger than any enemy. We protect each other, and that is our greatest power." The colony slept peacefully beneath the twin moons, unaware of what new threats might arise, yet secure in the knowledge that courage, loyalty, and unity would always be their shield. In the heart of Zythera, a new chapter had begun. Kale, once a warrior seeking only to protect his daughter, had found a home among humans. Elias, always a leader of courage and foresight, had discovered a bond that transcended species. And Leora, safe and smiling, had a future filled with hope, friendship, and the knowledge that love and loyalty could forge bonds stronger than any weapon. The humans of Zythera had survived against impossible odds, but now they had something even greater. An alliance that could endure anything, and a reminder that heroism, courage, and the willingness to fight for others were what truly defined strength. Kale looked out at the horizon, Leora at his side, and Elias nearby. The colony had become more than a settlement. It was a home, a family, and a testament to the power of unity. And for the first time, Kale felt at peace. Not just because the marauders were gone, but because he had found a place where he truly belonged. A place where humans and Tyrus could stand together, protecting what mattered most. The stars above Zythera shimmered silently, as if acknowledging the courage, unity, and hope of those who had fought, survived, and built a future together.